All right. Welcome to the Town Council meeting this evening. It's good to see everyone out here tonight. If we can please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Brightcruz,
Here.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski,
Here.
Councilmember Albritton,
Present.
Councilmember Hartman,
Here.
Councilmember Jablonski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. If you please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, great. Once again, thank you all for coming out. We are pleased this evening to have Senator Geller here with us. Thank you, Senator, for taking some time out of your schedule to be here with us, give us some updates. I know you're working on some stuff. And I also want to, before you jump in there, I do want to thank you. We are trying to work on the road out west and Griffin Road, and you wrote an exceptional letter for us that helped us a lot to kind of move that project along. So thank you. Appreciate that and all that you do for us here in the ranches.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As all of you know, I represent now, since reapportionment, I used to represent all of Southwest Ranches. I've moved a little further east, so I now represent about half Dykes Road West, but it doesn't matter if I represent part of a city. I've always considered that I represent all of the city, and as I've said before, anything I can do to assist the town of Southwest Ranches, I am delighted to do so. So your attorney has never been shy about letting me know what the town wants. But please, if the manager let me know as well, or administrator, or what is your title? Administrator, okay. I see Commissioner Albritton all of the time at different meetings, so if there's anything that I can do, just please let me know.
Thank you.
I was asked here specifically, although I'll take questions on any topics afterward, to address what's going to happen in Southwest Broward. I'll say Pembroke Pines, it's actually unincorporated, but on the potential burner in Southwest Broward. So let me run through my notes, and then I'll take questions on this and then any other topic that you want to talk about. I think all of you know that we have set up the Solid Waste Working Group, and I actually am the alternate to that. And the reason that I am the alternate to that is Commissioner Furr, who is the member from the county commission that's on it, is term limited out in 2026, while I would be term limited out in 2028. And we anticipate that a lot of the issues that are coming up may not be resolved if the Solid Waste Working Group stays together, and I have some serious questions about that. A lot of the decisions are not likely to be made by the time that Commissioner Furr is term limited out. So I was asked to get involved so that I can be involved till by 2028, all of the decisions should be made. First of all, we have to do something, and I'll run through what the alternatives are. And the reason is, right now, the landfill, which we affectionately refer to as Mount Trashmore, is Monarch Hill at the current rate of fill that will be used up in 6 or 7 years. And there will be no place to put our solid waste, which is obviously seriously problematic. Now, there are some options to extend the life by 4 or 5 years, all of which are opposed by the cities up in that vicinity. Currently, there is a height limit there, and there's discussion about raising the height limit there. There's also a valley there that used to be a waste to energy, a boiler there, and there's some people that would like to fill that in. I do not want that filled in because I want to keep that alive as an optional location for a burner. So, right now, unless we do something, it'll be done in 6 or 7 years. under the current agreement between the city and Broward County, and the county has the statutory authority under Florida statutes to be responsible for dealing with solid waste. We have to at least ensure that there is a place to do solid waste, although the cities have the contractual, have the ability by contract to decide where to dispose of that, and that's one of the issues right now. But under the agreement between the city and the county, no more than 15% of what goes to Monarch Hill can be what we would term, the household garbage, the wet, sticky stuff. A minimum of 85% has to be non-household garbage. And currently, the post-recycled, I'll get to that in a moment, post-recycled construction and debris and the bulk waste like lawn trimmings and things of that nature make up between 85 and 90% of what's going into Monarch Hill. That's after recycling 50 to 60% of the C&D, construction and demolition. And that's substantially increased. A few years ago, it was about 20%, and we're currently have the recycling up to 50 or 60%, which is extending the life for a number of years. We are hopeful that we can increase that recycling even further so we can get it up to roughly 2/3 or 70% of the construction and demolition, the C&D there. One of the problems that I think all of you know that we're having is the recycling market has just collapsed. It used to be that we would send all of our plastic over to China, and they're no longer interested in it and won't even take it. There is still a market for corrugated paper and even for regular paper, and that's because of Amazon and other companies that are shipping so much by mail that there's a huge amount of boxes that they need. So there is still a market, and you can actually still sell it at something of a profit for the paper. That's really the only one. Metal, you can make some money on. Glass and plastic, there's just no market for anymore. And as a result of this, what used to be, cities used to count on making money off of recycling. Today, recycling is more expensive than landfilling, and people are going to have to understand that. And one of the problems is we do want to recycle as much as we can, even though it's going to be more expensive. We're going to need to make some changes in how we recycle. But currently, the landfill, particularly the household waste, landfills in this country give off massive amounts of methane, and a lot of it is burnt, but it is still causing terrible environmental issues just because of the amount of methane it's giving off, which is contributing to global warming. And again, one of the problems is some cities are still opting to go with or want to landfill as opposed to recycle because it's cheaper. But as a result, that is filling up Monarch Hill at a faster rate than it otherwise would. At the southern facility that we have, which is the one I'll refer to as the Davie site, even though it's not in Davie. It's located, I think we all know, at the intersection of 441. It's just west of 441 and south of State Road 84. We currently have 3 boilers there. That's what we refer to as a waste-to-energy plant because we burn the garbage and produce a great deal of electricity there. That also has a limited lifespan left under current plans. The reason is not that the boilers are falling apart because they are constantly being upgraded and kept up to date. The problem is the ash that they generate needs to be landfilled on site, or though it could be moved, which is one of the proposals. There's about 25 years left at our current rate of burning of the 3 burners for the ash monofill. One of the proposals, which I'll get to in a few moments, is to add a fourth boiler there, which would increase our ability to take waste out of Monarch Hill. But if we do that, that reduces the amount of ash left, of space left for the ash. I will add that when you're talking about boilers, I keep hearing about incinerators. People are referring to them as if they were the big smokestacks that were built in the 1950s up north. That is not the case. If anybody here has not, wants to see what they are today, I would recommend that you go up and tour the Palm Beach facility, which I have. After this facility was built, there are $1 million plus homes, half a mile away. These are not, what we're talking about today are not the old, incinerators that people sometimes refer to them. I've heard discussions that we should go to zero waste. Zero waste is a great philosophy. It is not possible. We can go to much lower waste, but it's impossible to reach zero, because some of the things that, are simply not going to be recyclable or compostable. So can we get to 95% waste reduction, maybe 90%? I have no number under current technology, but we don't see any way of getting to 0%. But the philosophy of going towards dramatic waste reduction is something that we need to go to, because that will substantially prolong the amount of time we have at Monarch Hill, and it would reduce the amount if we have to ship the waste to another county, which is one of the options I will discuss in a moment. If we're shipping, a third, a quarter, 10% of what we're currently disposing of now, it makes it much more economically feasible. So we do have to go towards as much waste reduction as we can. I've heard some people suggest industrial composting. As far as I can tell, composting on that level has not been done in this country. At least that's what I've been advised by our county staff. One of the problems with industrial level composting does give off a great deal of odor, will attract a lot of little furry things, and there's also methane given off, unless it's done anaerobically, which a lot of it, if you're doing it at home, it can be done anaerobically. I'm just not sure that this is possible on a giant commercial scale, which, as I said, staff has advised me that has not been done previously in this country. So we have to do something. Let me run through what the options are. First, we can place a additional burner, a new burner or two, in either Pembroke Pines or Monarch Hill. I believe that if we try and do either one of those, the solid waste working group will collapse. I see that there is a great deal of political opposition in North County to place it at Monarch Hill, and obviously there's a great deal of political opposition here in Southwest Ranches and Davie, as far north as Cooper City, Weston, Miramar, Pembroke Pines. There's an obligation. In order for the solid waste working group to continue, they have to have signatories of people representing 80% of the solid waste generated in Broward County. If the cities in Southwest Broward that I just mentioned pull out of the solid waste working group, it collapses. If Deerfield Beach, if the other cities around Monarch Hill pull out, then there won't be, there'll be also fall under the 80%. So I don't think that it is realistic to assume that there will be a additional burner, a new boiler placed in either of those locations. We can continue to landfill after Monarch Hill, but the closest available landfill is in Okeechobee County. The problem with sending it to Okeechobee County is this will, of course, dramatically increase the price. The cost per ton is actually somewhat lower in Okeechobee, but the cost of sending so many garbage trucks from Broward County all the way up to Okeechobee County every day, there will be the continued adverse impact on the methane given off from landfilling in Okeechobee County. But there's also the problem you're going to be spending a ton of money on fuel, presumably gas or diesel, theoretically, I guess, electric trucks, but they still need to be charged, and sending the trucks all the way up to Okeechobee and back will just be extremely expensive for us. The only potential location I see for an additional burner is at the Davie site, which, from what I understand, since there's already 3 burners there, if we placed a 4th burner there to try and dispose of more of the waste, and you combine that with aggressive recycling and reductions, like I said, if we're currently, if you include the construction and demolition and solid waste there, we're currently probably 60 or 70% recycling. If we can get that up to 90%, and combine that with an additional burner for the household waste, that might work. What we would then have to do is find an additional location to move the ash in 20 or 30 years, but we can presumably truck the ash up to Okeechobee and landfill that, and trucking the ash up is 10%, 15%, I don't know the exact number, but what's left after burning is tiny in comparison. So that is probably what I think would be the ultimate solution. In terms of recycling, as you know, right now we do single stream recycling. It's not working. And what we would need to do to make this better on recycling is 2 things. First of all, we're probably going to have to go to multiple stream, at least dual stream, where you can, dual stream would be paper and then everything else that we do right now, plastic, metal, glass. If we even did paper, metal, and then everything else, that would probably work. And we have to teach people how to recycle. And the reason for that, I'll use pizza boxes as the most common example. People put pizza boxes, which are covered with oil, into the recycling because they think it's paper. By putting peanut butter jars or mayonnaise things into the recycling, when they're not clean, you are contaminating the waste stream. And by contaminating the waste stream, if you put what we used to call saran wrap, I guess it's press and seal now or whatever, that's not a recyclable plastic. It gets caught up in the gears. We have to teach people how to recycle better. And if we do that, then that would reduce the cost of recycling if it's recycled better. And we don't have all of the waste. So we can do that. And finally, as I said, I have heard the Commissioner Furr, who is the member on the Solid Waste Working Group, discuss that he thinks that if we do have to go to an additional burner, that the Pembroke Pines site would be the best. I am opposed to that. And the reason that I am opposed to that is it does not seem equitable to me that if we're going to have 2 burners in the county, that you're going to have both south of 84 and roughly in Southwest Broward, which, I think if we're going to do this And again, this is one of the reasons that I have opposed the request at Monarch Hill to fill up the valley where they used to have the burner. And that area already is zoned for and land used for a burner. So it would be easier to move up there, it would be quicker, and then you'd have one burner or set of burners in Northwest Broward, one in Southwest Broward, which to me seems the more equitable solution. So I am, as I said, and I've said this before, I am opposed to locating the additional burner in Southwest Broward. The argument that the people up in Monarch Hill are making is, well, we already have a landfill, we shouldn't have a burner there also. I understand, but sorry. And the other issue is if we go there or if we go in Pembroke Pines, at some point in time, we're going to need to find a location to truck the ash. But that's what I have to say on the subject. Do you have any questions or comments to me on this issue? And then after that, I'll take any questions and any other issues.
Thank you for coming out in the summary. From my perspective, I'm a little bit more bullish on the opportunities that we have with recycling and composting. I think that's come a long way, and even with the plastic recycling, I think is that market is coming back a lot, pretty strong.
It has come back
So-
to. It's much closer to break even than it
Yes.
used to be.
Yes.
But again, if we can simply teach people the correct way to recycle,
So
that
I'm
would
glad
make
you
it
said
much
that.
more economically
I am glad you
viable.
said that. We couldn't have planned this any better. But we just
Just to be clear,
produced
we didn't discuss this ahead of time.
we just produced a PSA that we were going to show later on in the meeting tonight. But if we can cue that up and show it right now, we are trying to get ahead as a town of the recycling, and really education is a huge part of that, as you said.
Absolutely.
And so this is one of the things that we're working in conjunction with WM to do.
I have actually said that at the county commission
Yeah.
level, that we need to do better recycling, and I chair the South Florida Regional Planning Council, and we had recently a major seminar, joint one with the South Florida and Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, which are the 7 counties in Southeast Broward. And we had one on recycling, and we determined, again, we need to do better
Right.
recycling, and we're probably not going to be able to stay single stream.
Right.
Several of our residents are there.
Yep.
Yes, I know.
Yep. Okay, why
I
don't
hope
we,
they like
can we
what
cue
they
that up?
heard.
Thank you for being a valued Town of Southwest Ranches resident and for taking an interest in our sustainable future. As stewards of this vibrant community, we recognize that sustainability is not merely a goal, but a shared commitment to safeguarding our environment. Recycling is a cornerstone of sustainability. By diverting waste from landfills and reducing the need for raw materials, recycling conserves resources, minimizes environmental impact, and fosters a circular economy.
Recycling is a simple yet powerful practice that transforms materials into valuable resources, contributing to the long-term well-being of our planet and communities. Every time you choose to recycle, you're giving that item a second life. It's important only the right items make their way into your recycling cart. Please recycle only newspapers, magazines, office paper, and junk mail. Flattened cardboard and paperboard. No packing materials, please. Empty plastic bottles, jugs and tubs, aluminum and steel cans, and glass bottles and jars.
Please do not include loose plastic bags of any kind, including grocery and dry cleaning bags, and do not bag your recyclables in plastic.
Please refer to the informative brochures and the town website, providing additional details on trash disposal, recycling procedures, bulk pickup schedules, and household hazardous waste collection.
Recycling is a simple yet powerful practice. Every day we encounter hundreds of recyclable items. By recycling properly, together we can save tons of raw material, which in turn can save energy, lower our greenhouse gas emissions, and reduce costs. Thanks to WM's advanced processing technologies, it's easier than ever to recycle. Follow and share the effective recycling practices outlined in this video. Your active involvement is key to making a positive impact on our shared environment.
And by the way, if you have any questions about your curbside service, please contact Southwest Ranches Town Hall at 954-434-0008 or email us at customerservice@southwestranches.org or WM Customer Service at 954-974-7500.
So we're trying to get the word out there on what you can do.
That is an excellent, excellent video. If you reshoot it, I would just ask one other thing, which is, again, pizza boxes, jars of mayonnaise, whatever you do, please make sure that you're only throwing out clean waste, because if you put the pizza box with the fats on it or the mayonnaise or peanut butter jars, you're actually making the matter worse by contaminating the stream.
Right. Good.
But that's an excellent thing. Again, I think that whatever we do, if we can get our recycling rate, which is somewhere currently around 60%, if we can get that up to 90 or 95, we'll never hit 100, but if we can get it close to that, if we can get it from 60-ish, which we are now, up to 90, 95, that will solve most of the problem, and then we can probably deal with the remaining with our existing one burner. We would not need to place a new burner anywhere in the county.
Great. Great. Any questions? Yeah, David.
Senator Geller, thank
Yes.
you, thank you for coming out. I have to concur with the mayor about my beliefs in more recycling. I know that artificial intelligence is being implemented across many industries, including the waste disposal. And I believe that using artificial intelligence will also reduce the human sorting cost at the recycling facility. I've been to the recycling facility here, and it's very human interactive. Once they rebuild their facility with more artificial intelligence procedures, I think it'll reduce the costs to recycling.
Vice Mayor, have you been up to the Palm Beach facility?
I have not.
I would strongly recommend, you're going to run into a
Most
sunshine.
of us have been up there. We've
Okay.
all tried to, yeah.
Yeah, you have to go separately.
Yeah, we've seen it.
To
It is-
avoid
yeah.
sunshine
Yep.
problems.
Been out to the Rooter plant to see the recycling in action.
Right.
And
Right.
The new plant should come online sometime late next year.
Yeah. There are advances coming along, and again, that's why we've already, over only the past 2, 3, 4 years, we've been able to increase the C&D in white goods. White goods are refrigerators, stoves, oven, major appliances. We've been able to increase the recycling on construction and demolition, which is concrete, the steel rebar, things of that nature, from about 20% to currently 50 to 60%, and we believe we can get up to 65, 70%.
We have
So-
to get to 75% according to the state.
Okay,
So that's
right.
what we're shooting for as a bare minimum.
Yeah, bear in mind that I don't think there's any counties that are meeting currently the state, but yeah,
Let's lead.
right.
Just to let you know what's going on here, when we heard incinerator back, what is it now, 8 or 9 months ago?
Yeah.
Our town banded together very quickly. We now have monthly a group that is spreading out to be countywide, where we're really leading the charge against incinerators and, really trying to persuade that recycling and zero waste is the best approach for the long term. Because we see incinerators as old technology, bad idea. They're predicting the worst hurricane season on record, and I got to believe climate change is part of that, and all the things we're talking about contribute to climate change. So here in town, the initiative we've also taken is we have an advisory board now that is helping the council implement recycling strategies and potentially over time zero waste strategies. So we've really jumped on this. We have people from all the our bordering municipalities coming to our Stop the Incinerator meetings, and we have a lot of residents now contributing towards how we can better recycle. So we're just a part of it. It's a community effort now.
Councilmember Hartman, I know, but I'm surprised I haven't received a single call from anyone in Southwest Ranches on this. I'm joking, of course.
Otherwise, there's.
I have
the audience
received
getting
so
tired.
many phone calls and emails, and is Judge Cohen here? Yes. Please tell your wife to stop calling me on this. Okay.
You had mentioned that Beam Fur is terming out and you're
Yes, sir.
picking up his role.
Yes, sir.
When does that happen?
2026.
Okay.
I am currently, he is the county commission representative
Right.
to the solid waste working group. I am the alternate, and I said, I don't want to be the alternate, and they said, you have to, because we're going to need you to take over, and I said, grumble, okay, fine. But that's if the solid waste working group has not fallen apart by then. I have said before to anybody that will listen that I think if there is a push to put a burner, another burner, which I'll refer to that because they're not the old incinerators. If you put another burner either up at Monarch Hill or at Pembroke Pines, enough of the local cities adjacent to either will withdraw to make the solid waste working group fall apart. So I don't believe that either of those is a viable alternative, which is why I'm pushing for a combination of greater recycling combined with, if we still need an additional burner, and we can fit one more. We have 3 right now. We can put a 4th over at the Davie facility, and I have heard no complaints, and I represent, my district stops at 441, goes all the way up from Sheridan Street all the way north to Broward. So I have everybody in that area on the north. I haven't received one complaint about that facility, and I've received, I believe the correct term is tons of complaints about the one here in Pembroke Pines, that I know that the people in North County have been receiving the same there. So that's why I don't think either of those is a viable alternative.
Mayor Ryan from Sunrise put an op-ed out today that you may want to read to see where Sunrise stands on this. They're in the same boat as we are. They're really persuaded that zero waste and recycling is the direction to go. They're against incinerators as well.
Again, I agree with the recycling, the solid waste, zero waste, I think is a philosophy. I think most people recognize, maybe judging from the audience, that I'm wrong, but you'll never get to zero. But if we can get from 60% to 90 or 95 or 98, it's never going to be zero, but you can get so much closer than we are now. And in fact, over the last 3 or 4 years, we've made major strides. As I said, we were at 3 or 4 years ago, we were at 20% on the recycling at C&D, which is 85% of our landfill, or 85 to 90%. We're currently recycling at 55 to 60%, and I have been told that over the next year or 3 that we can get up to 70% recycling. If you combine that with the better recycling of glass, plastic, metal, and paper, if you combine it with that, I think we can reach 90% recycling and perhaps more than that. And if we can do that, as I said, that will resolve the issue. It's not possible to get to 100%, but if we're close, if we get into the 90s, that should resolve our issues. Are there any additional questions on that particular topic? And by the way, just to close so that nobody has any question, I am opposed to putting the burner in in Pembroke Pines. So, you can stop writing me and asking for that because I'm opposed to it. All right, next, is there anything else y'all want to talk about?
I think you'll probably make our residents happy when you say you're opposed to incinerators in general.
Okay.
So,
Right, so is there another topic that we wanted to, well, I'm going to open it up to the residents. I'm going to open up to the residents, but I just want to make sure, have you,
I
any other
finished on
topic?
that. I was just saying, I'm done. If there's
Okay.
anything else,
Okay.
I'm here. If there's any other topic you want to talk about, I'll talk about whatever you want. If you want to,
I think we're good. Jim, please, sit down. Jim, We appreciate you
normally
coming
when
out.
I'm agreeing with
We-
people and show up, they
Yeah.
tend to be
it's okay.
somewhat more supportive. Okay.
All right.
So
Good.
is there anything else? If not, I'll sit down and then.
Yeah, I think we're,
If you want, I'll wait here and
Please.
respond to whatever.
okay.
After I listen to whatever the public comment is, I'll respond to that.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, let me open it up because I know that there's some comments here. You want to come up?
So, I guess well, I'll speak to you and to Commissioner Geller. I'm right here. Okay, yes, I feel bad that my back is to you. I just want to, there's so much of what you said that I can't even, I haven't had time to put my thoughts together. But even like the Palm Beach facility, how it's the latest and greatest, but yet they themselves have said, based on the proposed new EPA guidelines, that they will have to shut down or spend millions of dollars to bring them up to meet those requirements. So, or they can sue the EPA. That's their plan so far. And I know I have invested so much of my time. I go to those meetings every 2 weeks, except for the 1 month where there wasn't a second and fourth and there was an extra Friday in there. Unfortunately, they still have yet to put those meetings on Zoom. So you, as an alternate, I haven't seen you there very often other than when you needed to fill in. So I think where you're coming from and how you posed the Solid Waste Working Group, which is no longer the Solid Waste Working Group, that group is dissolved. That group had nothing in its master plan or in any of its documents related to anything other than waste to energy. This new authority that has been working diligently and who has now hired an executive director to steer away from waste to energy incineration and more towards the more sustainable zero waste methods. No one thinks there can ever get to zero waste, but it's just like having an accident-free workplace. It doesn't exist, but you can aspire to it and you can do the best you can. And part of what you said is, I just am really hoping that it is not all a facade, and all that these people on this work, the authority have put in, and that it's just going to go away. And Pembroke Pines is not part of it, so if they come out, nothing falls apart. Right. But I think you really need to listen, be at those meetings to understand where that executive committee is in the direction they want to take the authority.
Thank you, Debbie.
If you don't mind, I'd like to face Mr. Geller. Since the beginning, you've come in here with the same false assumptions, all right? There's plenty of recycling going on you don't even know about. You don't have a handle on it. There's so many. I go up to Lake Okeechobee probably every week and a half. I got a little hunting camp up there. Scott's Miracle Grow is on the property. They have a whole bunch of products that are incorporating organics right now. I see the garbage trucks, the big bulk haulers going in and out of the place. There's another one called Old Castle up there that I don't know much about. They're taking and grinding up glass or getting that glass out of the waste stream now. Then you've got the construction equipment. If you noticed on Griffin Road, when you go through Davie, you'll see that the couple of major housing developments going on there, those guys are required to start working on their waste as they build. So when you have a washout of a concrete truck and you got a bunch of that crap laying on the ground with three-quarter rock in it and cement and everything else, They take and actually shake it out with a shaker screen, take the larger particles, and they reuse it in other projects around. I just heard today I think it's called Warp or Where, they're going to be doing that with organic dirt on the Tamiami Trail. They're going to be taking and mixing the two together for road bed. It obviously has a purpose when you start talking about rebuilding the Tamiami Trail and how much money and all the experts that chimed in on that subject. So then we go along with plastics. We have robots now that can see. If you can see what a human does. So not only that, if you work at, I don't know how many times the speed, but the operating cost of it is around 6 cents per minute. How many functions can a robot do in that length of time? It's uncountable. China.
Okay,
China's too
Jim.
cheap and doesn't have the money to buy our
Jim.
recycling right now.
Hey, Jim.
We use it right here.
Jim,
What?
time's up.
Okay, I got another page of,
That's all right.
all right. Anyway, I think you get my point.
Yep.
It's just absurd to mention that we need an incinerator for any reason.
Good Lord. I hate this. Gloria. I'm here. Gloria Murphy, 5711 Southwest 164th. Could you? Okay.
Please leave the mic in the mic holder, okay? It's, and I'm not just to talk to you, I'm talking about the public in general. It's there, it's adjustable, you don't need to pull it out of the mic holder.
Okay, I'm fully disgusted with the idea of putting an incinerator in our area, but that's not what I want to talk about. But I thought your video was excellent, and it needs to get out to more people.
We just produced it, so it will.
Okay, I'm thinking if you could come up with a public service ad and deal with the local TV channels, and maybe you can get them to show this all the time, as well as send out pamphlets. People are busy. They're not going to have the time to go on the internet and check out what's new in Southwest Ranches. They need this thrown in their faces. And I think like the public service ads would really help.
Great.
Because I think people are basically good. And pizza boxes. Why can't they go to the companies that manufacture the cartons and say not recyclable on them? That's at least something that's going to be in their face. Anyways, that's all I have to say, and I got 55 seconds.
Thank you, Gloria.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Ramcharitar, and I would like to say that implementing zero waste will eliminate all discharges to land, water, or air that are a threat to planetary, human, animal, and plant health. If we build incinerators in Florida and we continue to do, well, let me first say that no new incinerator has been built in the United States since 1995. That tells you something. There have been many initiatives to build them, but they've failed and they've been shut down. And this is happening throughout the country where they are shutting down incinerators. There's been incinerators shut down.
Hey, please be quiet in the back.
There's been incinerators shut down in Detroit. The last incinerator standing in California is about to be shut down in Stanislaus County, Covanta. And that's because there are incredible data and studies showing that these incinerators are dangerous to human and animal health, to the environment, to groundwater. And I would really suggest to you that you speak to your staff about the comment that there's no industrial composting going on in this country. That is completely wrong. I just came back from San Francisco, and I've toured the Recology Center, and I can tell you that there is industrial scale composting going on there. I saw it for myself, and I took pictures. And I would, if your staff wants to meet with me, I'd be more than happy to help educate them, because we should not be looking at building incinerators anywhere in anyone's backyard. This is a dated technology. The US EPA will eventually shut them down in 10 years. So by the time you finish build this one, if you decide to do it, it's going to be shut down. You're not going to be able to use it because of the EPA air standards and the emissions, continuous emissions monitoring. This is what's going on around the country, and I would implore you to please, take a step back and let Todd Storty, the new executive director, lead us in the right direction.
Thank you, Richard. All right, yeah.
Hi, my name is Lori Parrish. I live on 12801 Luray Road. First of all, I want to thank Steve Geller. I can tell you that I've worked with Steve for over 30 years. He's never, ever disappointed me on a vote, and I have a real strong environmental side. But what I'd like for you to tell everyone here that he has told me, the rumor is that they're going to try and put an incinerator at the county's landfill, which is an unincorporated area. And I know you have told me, you're sick of telling me that you're not going to do that, but would you stand up and tell all of them? Thank you.
I did.
Yeah, he did. He did. All right, any other? Okay.
I won't touch it.
Please.
Promise.
You can adjust it. But
Can I?
don't- There you go.
I got to learn this, Gary. You got to work with me here. How you doing? John Garotti, 162nd Avenue. Mr. Geller, I happen to have gone a couple times to, actually once, but a few of the other meetings. The executive committee, the word burner, the word incinerator, it's just not something that nobody wants. Whether you put it 20 miles, 10 miles, it's going to create the same problem. Another thing that I want to bring up, and I am no expert on any of this, but we have some expert residents. I'll tell you something that they taught me at the executive committee is, and I brought it up, I said, if we go to the landfill, let's go to the actual landfill. I took a couple of our residents to the landfill. It's eye-opening. There's no technology being used. The sorting that's out there is literally from the 30s and 40s. They're doing nothing. So Mr. Lasky, another one of our residents, brought up technology. Technology in the next 10 years, you won't recognize it. I mean, I'm 49. I'm an old man now. When I moved here, I was 27 years old. Everything's changed. In the auto industry, we use automation to find our cars at the auction because that's my prior industry. So technology. And more than anything, one of the things I told the Solid Waste Executive Committee, this new title, we have to think beyond our lifespans. I'm 49. I don't think the same way I did when I was 27. My dad's 95 years old this year. If you had him up here, he's going to tell you who cares because he's 95, right? So we have to have that mindset. Of course, recycling is the key. It's going to get that number. I don't think the number that you have, the 60%, is accurate. I'm no expert, but that's not the numbers that I've been hearing. And if we don't fix it now, what happens in the future? Of course, listen, you got to do something with your garbage. But I'm going to touch something that we have to do a better job as a council. We are going after many of our landscapers for composting. Whether they're a nuisance in traffic or this and that, that's another argument. But I don't want to hear one more word of a landscape company or a nursery being chastised for composting, because that's what's happening. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. Senator Geller, thank you for coming out, and please, if you wish to respond.
Let's see. First, I'm wondering if people were listening carefully to what I was saying. So let me repeat some things that I was saying in response. In reference to the first speaker who said about the philosophy of zero waste, I said repeatedly I agree with that. It is a philosophy. We will, just like, I'll use her example of an accident-free workplace. We are never going to get to an accident-free workplace, but we can dramatically reduce the number of accidents. We're never going to get to zero waste, but we can dramatically reduce the amount of waste, which I've been encouraging and speaking about. And as I said repeatedly, if we're able to get enough recycling done, then we probably don't need another boiler anywhere. If we're not able to do that, we have a very limited time frame left. We've got 6 or 7 years. I think we will do some things up in Monarch Hill that'll make it 10 or 12 years. But if we're not able to get to 90% plus recycling by then, we're going to have to eat, our choices are to send the waste up to Okeechobee or burn more of it. We have to put it someplace. We're not just leaving it piled on the curb. And I didn't, again, never said that we're not currently doing recycling. We are doing recycling. We need to do it more and better. One of the things that I have brought up before at the county and will continue to is I think there is a dispute. Waste Management keeps saying if they think single stream recycling is sufficient. I don't believe that does work. Once we're able to resolve how we're going to do the recycling, I have already asked for the county to put some money into ads, and we can probably pay for a little more than the city. All right, a lot more than the city. But we'd like to see ads on recycling, but again, we want to first figure out, and there were active discussions ongoing, whether it's going to stay single, go to double or triple stream. I've heard no support for anything more than triple stream recycling. And as I said, if we're able to get to 90% recycling, then we don't need an additional burner. In reference to the issue about not having a new burner built anywhere since I think it was 1990s, 1995, Palm Beach went online after 1995. So, okay. In reference to the not being composting, I never said there wasn't composting. The issue is Broward County is a very large county. As a matter of fact, if we were a state, we would be the 37th largest state. Would be right after New Mexico. And we're not aware, I'm relying on what staff has told me, of any composting of that scale in this country. I'm not saying there hasn't been any commercial composting, but not at that scale. And by the way, sir, 49 isn't old. Trust me, I barely remember 49. If we are able, I'll close by saying what I've continued to say, which is, first of all, Commissioner Parrish, I'm opposed to putting a burner in Pembroke Pines. I've said that repeatedly. Next, I'm hoping that we have to do a better job at recycling, and if we're able to get to 90% recycling, we won't need any additional burner anywhere, and we won't need to ship up to Okeechobee County. If we are not able to get to 90% recycling, we are faced with two unattractive options. One is shipping waste all the way to Okeechobee County. The second is to build an additional burner at the location where there's already 3 other burners. And there's not any plan that I'm aware of to close down those other burners. So do I want an additional burner? No. We have a statutory obligation to deal with the solid waste in the county, in the Broward County. The county commission does. We're going to have to do it somewhere. It's my hope we can fix this by recycling better. Once we reach the conclusion on how to best recycle, single, double, triple, I believe you'll see the county coming up with ads. I hope that answers and resolves all of the questions.
Good.
So,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We do appreciate you coming out, and this obviously is a very hot topic in our community, and I think in all of Broward County, and I think that we're all in that same goal to get 90 plus in recycle so that we have no more incinerators. So
I will, and by the way, some of the discussion on robotics and AI may in fact make it easier.
Mm-hmm. It will.
But the problem is human nature is still always going to be one of the problems. And,
It's education.
Hopefully we're able to fix that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it. All right. Yeah. Let's see. Next item. We have, I have the pleasure of doing a proclamation tonight. You know, so much of our staff does so many things behind the scenes that we don't see, and a lot of us, it's tough to appreciate all that they do. And for our clerk and the clerk staff, we have a proclamation tonight for Municipal Clerks Week, and I'd like to read that into the record. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is a time-honored and vital part of our local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas the professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality, impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as an information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas the professional municipal clerks continue to strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk, therefore, let it be proclaimed by the Town Council of Southwest Ranches the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024, as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our clerk's office and the professional municipal clerks for their vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. So thank you all, and we really do appreciate it. Awesome. They really do a great job, and it's behind the scenes. We don't see it. They're underappreciated, but we do sincerely appreciate all the work that you all do.
Just a quick comment on that.
Yeah.
I learned this week also that Dan is working on his professional certification right now. Dan, how far out are you?
Probably a year and a half to 2 years, maybe, sir.
Good, good. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
It's awesome. All right. Item number 5, public comment.
Mayor, we have 4 public comment tonight. If anyone else wants to speak, please give a card immediately. But we can start calling them up. Mary Michelle, followed by Lonnie Bergeron, followed by John Garotti.
Folks, your fans on YouTube say, please speak into the microphone and speak loudly.
Just a quick comment, Lonnie, if you're speaking on the water item, please hold off. We do have that on there. But if it's a different item, then fine. Thank you.
Mary Michelle, 15011 North Saxon Circle. I am speaking again tonight against this town's ongoing support of a genocidal and apartheid regime. I will pick up where I left off 2 weeks ago with the blatant and outright lie that is consistently and relentlessly espoused by Zionist-controlled Western news media. This is the idea that Israel is our strongest and most faithful ally. This is pure propaganda. Netanyahu has publicly scoffed that he knows how to control the United States, and we will not stand in his way. He has openly stated once we squeeze all that we can out of the United States, it can dry up and blow away. With friends like that, as they say, who needs enemies? Americans have also been brainwashed to believe that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. By what definition? Israel has imprisoned and subjected an entire population of people who have never had the right to vote and has held them in what is known worldwide as an open-air prison. There are 2 different standards of law under Israeli law. If you're a Palestinian, you are charged under military law. If you're Israeli, you are charged in civil and criminal court. This in itself is the definition of apartheid, not a democratic state. Israel continues to make unopposed, unproven allegations in order to justify and continue their barbaric assault against the Palestinian people. They, to date, have not provided proof of Hamas headquarters, tunnels under hospitals. What has, however, been proven is the unearthing of nearly 400 bodies found so far in mass graves in 2 hospitals in the Gaza Strip, including the bodies of women, children, the elderly, and hospital personnel. Many victims were found with their hands tied behind their backs. Independent news and human rights agencies have verified that the victims showed signs of torture. Some victims were found buried alive, while others were executed by the Israeli military. Israel has also never provided proof of any connection with UNRWA personnel to Hamas. Israel actually approved of and vetted every member of UNRWA prior to October 7th, and yet they still succeeded in cutting off all humanitarian aid by simply making an allegation alone. To drive the nail deeper into the coffin, the Israeli military intentionally massacred humanitarian aid workers earlier this month, severing vital food and medical supplies. The Israeli government is systematically slaughtering and starving civilians as a tactic of war in direct violation of every standard of military conflict, conduct, and international laws on human rights. Yet, despite these thoroughly documented and ongoing war crimes, the United States Congress just approved an additional $17 billion in military aid. Since World War II, the U.S. has given more than $124 billion in military aid to Israel. Israel was already slated to receive $38 billion from military spending as part of a 10-year plan.
Thank you, Michelle.
Lonnie Bergeron, followed by John Garotti, followed by Jim Lasky.
Good evening, Lonnie Bergeron, 20400 Southwest 51st Street, Pembroke Pines. So I'm here to address a couple of things that have been said the last couple of meetings regarding my family or my family of companies. It's been said that the Bergeron family is somehow actively, directly or indirectly, somehow in support of the incinerator that we're speaking about here tonight. Is one of them, and I want to make it quite clear that the Bergeron family is unequivocally not in support of an incinerator being built anywhere in Broward County. Not a new one. Not on our lands, not on the county lands, not on anybody's lands. Secondly, there was a statement made, I believe, last week that somehow that Bergeron supported Mayor Castillo so that we could have some kind of private conversations about getting some kind of thing or zoning in order to do this. Now, it's simple public record search. Everyone will see that in this election cycle, we gave zero money to Mayor Castillo, and he wasn't really happy about it. But there were some things that we disagreed with on at the time. We've worked things out since then, but we gave them no money. And most of the people, there's a lot of people here that has my mobile phone number. Anybody here at the town, that if anybody wants to talk to any of us over at Bergeron to ask what we are for or against or what we're doing, call me on my mobile. I'll be glad to sit down and talk with you and show everybody what's going on. Third thing, before I run out of time, Mike Ryan did do a good piece today, the op-ed. This is where the future is. We can't burn our way out of this problem. But, you know, the more appropriate thing for Broward County landfill, it's already accepting C&D bulk and veg there as a daily thing. To put up a couple of buildings and put some equipment similar to that was employed a few years ago when there was competition, you can achieve 85-90% with that. And there are multiple counties that are making above 70%. And they mandate by ordinance flow control countywide that those three waste streams have to be recycled before landfill. So it does a couple of things. The life of Monarch Hill goes way up because they're almost unlimited as to the CD bulk and veg that they can take. If we're recycling 90% of it, that's 6-7 years, may be 12 or 20. It also extends the life of Broward County because if you're only putting 10% CD bulk and veg, the residual, in our own landfill, it's unlimited as the time. So finally, I am here for item 12 to listen, but I'm also here at the pleasure of the council. If you have any questions, we'll be available for you.
Thank you.
John Garotti, followed by Jim Lasky.
All right, there we go. My name's John Garotti. I'm a resident of 22 years on 162nd Avenue. I have my neighbor here, Mary Gay. We got to lead by example, guys. The PSA you guys did, I think it's a step, right? But here's what it doesn't say. It doesn't say why. So most people are going to be like, well, you know, I got a lot of tasks to do. I got to do homework. I got work. I got 3 jobs. I have 2 jobs. But why do we need to recycle more? If we don't talk about why, right? Yes, you got to keep waste management on your good terms, right? Because that's your waste provider. But if we don't tell the public why there is such a need to get the numbers up, then what's the purpose of the PSA? It's just a commercial at that point. So the message has got to be way louder. I proposed a few things to the advisory board. I think it was brought up earlier. Airtime. You got to spread this message like if it was the next thing like sliced bread. You got to get the message out by recycling. I'm running for District 3 Council. I speak more to people about recycling and going to the dump and checking things out than I do about what I'm trying to do in November. So it's more important than any election. It's more important than any title. It's more important than any paycheck you receive on anything. Why? Because it's our water. It's our everything. And I don't want to hear anything else about composting. I get a lot of calls. I don't know how I've gotten my number out to everybody, but I get calls on nurseries. We are supposed to be an agricultural town, right? We're supposed to be promoting agriculture. The next time I see our property appraiser, I would like for him to talk about how you promote agriculture. And yes, does it come with baggage? Everything comes with a little bit of, a side note, right? But if we don't promote soil, right? If you don't promote composting, how many times have I sat in code hearings just because of observing, and I see a nursery or a landscape company or whatever combination having to spend thousands and thousands on attorneys because they're composting. And I've seen it. So that can't be. If we're talking about we need composting, it's got to be something we do. How are you going after the people that are doing it? Again, I mentioned there comes with baggage. Those things can all be worked out. We are in a new world, basically. You guys are getting restricted by the moment. Home rule is decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. How do you get ahead of it? Look at your Airbnb problem, right? I've said it many times, get ahead of have a business guidance department. Don't even call it a license. Make it free, but guide these residents. Guide your new guy. Guide the old guy. Airbnbs, right? They're headaches. Sure they are. Home-based businesses, that can be a headache, but if we guide residents and we communicate, the other day there was a meeting that was posted a day before. I talked to our town administrator, he explained it, but communication is my biggest message. We have got to do a way better job of communicating with our residents because that's how you build community. He answered it perfectly, he showed me. That's why I appreciate Russell for the things he says. I combat him on certain things, and we have a gentleman's bet on something I forgot, and I'll bring it up after the meeting to him, but we have got to get a little bit more tight-knit on certain aspects. That's all I got, because I'll be here for hours doing this. Oh, hi to my wife. Hi, Loudy.
Jim Lasky, followed by Judge Cohen, followed by Richard Ramchardar.
Okay, I'll try to be a little calmer this time. I want to first thank Lonnie Bergeron for clearing the air about his father, his company, and what they stand for. I heard a very emotional speech today that his father gave that went on and on and on about the potential disaster we could have in the Everglades if we don't stick together on this whole subject, because it's all connected. Anyway, I want to go back to what I was ranting on before, was Scott's, Scott's Miracle-Gro that I was talking about up in by the lake, where a lot of these garbage trucks are going with this organics composting material. I don't know what their method is. Most of what these companies are doing is very proprietary. It's secret. It's, it's so easy to get in there and through employees or whatever, okay, and get trade secrets. Although you might have to be a little bit more scientifically based than a lot of these workers are in these plants. But you go to Georgia Pacific, they're in every major store now. I mean, Lowe's, Home Depot, all these people, whether it's building products, insulation products, that's made from garbage. They just renewed with, what the heck's the name of it? It's the second largest waste company in the United States. Waste Connections, I'm sorry, that's the people that Pembroke Pines signed with. They just renewed their agreement to buy 100% of the garbage that they collect. 100%. I'm sure that there's some they can't use, but that's working it down pretty good. And through the use of robotics, the robotics in this case is probably going to be what they call small language that doesn't require huge computing systems and large drains on your power supply. And that's something that I need to learn more about. But one of the things to cut to the chase is you guys, we're not doing enough to inform the public about the potential risk we have. You just heard Mr. Geller, a burner here, a burner everywhere. I mean, that's ludicrous for what we've been through and what we stand to lose. So I'm asking you guys to start funding Richard and I, and even John Agrati, who's coming along pretty good on this matter, to go and do research on these companies and offer a solution. What I mean by that is, do they have the capacity to handle X amount of tons of garbage and sign whatever confidentiality agreements we would have to have, because they don't want to let any of their resources just out to anybody. But we need to go and approach it like a business, like we're looking for another alternative, and get some commitments that
Thank
we
you,
can
Jim.
present in advance to that committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge Cohen, followed by Richard Graham Chardar, followed by Mary Gay Chapels, who is the final speaker, by the way.
Good evening. Jeff Cohen, 12801 Luray Road. There's a big difference between free speech and hate speech. This body needs to learn the difference, because at the last town council meeting, the council allowed two individuals to openly traffic anti-Semitic rhetoric and failed to appropriately address it by immediately stopping the speakers and prohibiting further speaking opportunities. The council was either not listening or failed to understand the language being used. Sometimes anti-Semitism can be subtle. Failing to timely confront and call it out in this venue and appropriately sanctioning it is not acceptable. Would you permit a white supremacist, a Klansman, or a neo-Nazi individual to continue speaking? I doubt it. Why would you permit anti-Semites to do that? I'm specifically referring to two individuals who spoke during the public comment portion of the meeting. A young man who claimed to be a medical student residing in Miami-Dade County, and an outspoken anti-Zionist resident who frequently speaks on the issue. You heard her earlier tonight. The young man referred to Israel as the, quote, Zionist entity, and concluded his statement by referring to Palestine one day being located, quote, from the river to the sea. He was referring to the Jordan River, which is the eastern boundary of the West Bank, and the Mediterranean Sea, which is Israel's western boundary. Namat Shafiq, the president of Columbia University, in her testimony to Congress last week, said that mob shouting from the river to the sea is offensive to her and is anti-Semitic. The U.S. House of Representatives on April 17th this year passed a bipartisan bill declaring the chant, quote, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, to be anti-Semitic as it calls for incitement of violence and genocide against the Jewish people and the elimination of Israel. The anti-Zionist who frequently tells us she's not an anti-Semite had the audacity to say that Hamas did not break the truce on October 7 and spoke at length on the widely discredited radical leftist and Palestinian paradigm of Zionism being a, quote, settler colonialist movement. This framework from which Israel's enemies view the Israel-Palestine conflict has been adopted by Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, and the BDS movement, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. They view Israel as an illegitimate racist colonial state. This variant of anti-Semitism, this variant of anti-Zionism, rather, is anti-Semitic, as is every other anti-Zionist argument or criticism that denies the Jewish people the right of self-determination and self-defense in their ancestral homeland, which has been a tenet of Judaism for thousands of years. I'll conclude in 10 seconds.
Thank you.
Of course, like any other state, Israel can be criticized for any state action it takes, but denying it the right of self-defense and self-determination crosses the line every time into anti-Semitism. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard, and then Mary Gay, you're last. You're last after Richard. After Richard.
Yes, Richard, Southwest 166. I would like to say that, I don't know if you recall, but the Reuters Recycling Center on Pembroke Road back in the 1990s produced over 400,000 cubic yards of compost, rich compost that was sold out and they didn't have enough to sell. When Waste Management took over that company, they shut down the composting operation. And so therefore, for anyone to say that we are not able to achieve high-volume composting in Broward County. That's wrong. It's imperative that we treat our solid waste that we throw out every day as not as for destructive disposal, but we need to treat this as recoverable resources. It has value. If we sort and separate the waste stream, then we can avoid the landfilling of organics, which is what we should be focused on. Stop the organics going into the landfills, and you cut down on the methane that's being produced. If we divert it from incineration, then there's no need for an incinerator because it represents almost 50% of the waste stream. So my suggestion is that the Solid Waste Executive Committee needs to continue looking at different ways to implement the aspiration of zero waste. We will never reach zero waste, and currently right now our recycling rate is somewhere around 37 to 40%. It's not 60%. That was back in 2012. So we need to strive to try and achieve 75% recycling, and we can do that if we implement zero waste programs, initiatives, strategies, and the infrastructure. We have taxpayer assets already, and we also have private assets that can be utilized and worked into a zero waste program, and we need to build additional structures. The Broward County landfill, we went there, and I can tell you that we can build resource recovery parks on that facility. It's 588 acres, and there's no reason why we can't do it and why we can't do composting on that facility. There's no smell if you do it correctly. So this is what I need to tell you guys tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Mary Gay Chapels. I want to tell you that your TV little ad is pretty good. The one thing that you missed is, and maybe you can put it at the end, is what the gentleman said. Why? Like a lot of people, it's like, yeah, we know about it, but why? And I think if you hit them in the pocketbook and you show that this is going to cost them a lot of money, if we don't learn how to do this right, it's going to cost a lot of money. And it's also going to affect maybe your air because they might have to burn out there. And when they realize they're going to get rid of a burner and they're going to save some money, trust me, they're going to find out that that pizza box can't go in there. I was shocked you couldn't put the pizza box in there. Okay. I have, at 87, I've got some time on my hands and I stay up late at night, so I cruise YouTube. You will not believe how many ads or how many things are on there about exactly this, how people around the world are resorting to putting it back into the soil and how they're trying to eliminate waste. And we're really behind. I mean, in other countries, it's amazing what they're doing. And I hope that we can wake up the neighbors and wake up our town and save ourselves, because that's what it's all about. It's about us. Because I can't depend on you to save me. I have to save me. And that's what they have to understand. If they depend on somebody else, it isn't going to happen. So you did a good start with your film.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Okay. Any board reports this evening?
Okay, so on behalf of the Ed Board,
Yeah.
I just wanted to remind everyone that college scholarship application is due in by May 31st. In order to apply for the scholarship, you need to have 40 hours of service towards the town. So just wanted to remind everyone out there to get that's coming up. In regards to the Zero Waste Advisory Board, I am like super excited about the PSA. Also excited and kind of relieved because, we've been doing the Zero Waste Associates class, and today we actually had to present our class project, our PowerPoint, and I learned how to use Canvas and all that kind of stuff. Actually, our presentation went really well. We got lots of great feedback, so I'm just excited to take all the tools that we've learned to use and be able to bring it to the advisory board so that we can help in the town implementing, these zero waste methods. And just to follow up on what Mary Gay said, I learned this today, that Italy, because Italy's at like 90% recycling, and they've definitely gone towards the zero waste. And the biggest driver that drove those communities towards zero, that got them there, the biggest communities was the farm and agriculture. The farmers and the ag. And that's what we need to do here. And we all just need to, as we all need to say something, we need to do something about it and not rely on a few people to get it done.
Right.
And then really quick, on behalf of the Zero Waste, the task force, Broward Zero Waste Task Force, our next meeting is going to be May 8th here at Town Hall at 7 p.m. We are going to be showing a short film called The Burning Injustice. It's by The Story of Stuff. We'll have some movie snacks and some refreshments, but there's a whole lot of new things happening, lots of new things to share with what's going on in the executive committee and the RFP for the master plan consultant. So we're just ask everyone to, please come to this meeting on May 8th. Tell your friends in all the neighboring cities, or if you have friends somewhere else, just ask them to come, and there's just going to be a lot of good information.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that, that we're inviting a gentleman by the name of Ed Minara. He is the representative for a company called Carbatura. Carbatura is proposing to Miami-Dade, and they will probably most likely go to the Solid Waste Authority to pitch their technology. It's microwave technology, where they want to get about 6,000 tons of solid waste per day to convert. They're using molecular regenesis. Basically, what it does, it eats the solid waste that's put through it and changes it up into other products that can be sold to market. But they're offering to build this at no cost to Miami-Dade. They're backed by a hedge fund, a $10.8 billion hedge fund. They're looking to spend $1.8 billion to build the facility. This will involve flow control for over 30 years. And we're looking forward to Ed coming here and telling us more about his company and what their technology is all about.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, so this is board reports, so please let's stay on target here. Hey, George.
Good evening, Town Council. I like your new microphone. On behalf of the Astronaut Foundation, Southwest Ranches Park Foundation, we're going to be having our big bingo event coming up in a few weeks, May 11th. We're going to be serving dinner at 6. I'm going to start the games at 7. I believe you can purchase tickets here at Town Hall for $35. We're going to have giveaways, raffles. It's always a good time. So everybody's welcome to come out. Come out that night. It's going to be a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Any other board reports this evening? Seeing none, council member comments?
Yeah, I'll go. Surprise.
There we go.
I'll be very brief. First off, thank you all for coming, and everybody who's tuned in. Just want to announce a few things. I don't have much this time. We have hazmat at the barn the 27th, which is this Saturday. So if you have any old tires with or without rims, I'm not sure, but that came up last night. Paint, electronics that you want to get rid of, that's the place to do it. Old prescription drug medication that you want to drop off with Davie Police, no questions asked. So that's all happening this Saturday. May 11th is bingo at the barn, and it's $25, not $35. Okay, George was trying to make a little extra there. It fits the character, no? So I can't blame him, so. Yeah. He can't help himself. So anyway, no, George, we love you, you know that. We also have, the Rural Arts is putting on their annual photo contest. The theme this year is Proud of Our Town. It would be pictures that you would think of that would make you proud of being a Southwest rancher. So that's going on. And just two other things. When we toured, three of us toured with Russell the Palm Beach incinerator a couple months ago. We were told that the incinerator came online in 2015. It was the newest one in the state at that point.
Right.
So I just remembered that, and I just wanted to mention that coming out. And the other thing deals with all the car thefts that we've been having around here lately. And a lot of them are unlocked cars and stuff like that, but a few of them are where they duplicate the frequency off of the key fobs and stuff like that. And I learned this is kind of crazy, but it just hit me. If you put your keys in a Faraday bag, or the fob, it won't transmit. But then I thought a little bit further. Every household practically in the ranches has a Faraday cage in its kitchen. It's called a microwave. If you put your keys, if you're going out of town and you put your keys in the leftover keys, if you put them in the microwave, they're not going to transmit. And just make sure you put a sticker on it or
Remember
unplug it.
before you warm up your dinner.
or unplug it, or put a Post-it note on it saying "Look inside," before turning on, something like that. But it just hit me that that's actually a Faraday cage, and you could actually use that to put your keys in and block the signal, so that somebody couldn't copy the code. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Gary.
I just got a couple of really quick
Okay.
comments. Just a couple of really quick comments, and it seems like zero waste is a critical topic tonight. First off, I'm very proud of the comments that our residents made to the senator, because you guys are extremely well informed and right in the middle of all this right now. I kind of felt with the statistics I was hearing, he's probably a couple of years out of date, and he needs some education. But here's the thing to be worried about. He's mentioning how the county commission is responsible for all this. That is a true statement. If the new authority does fall apart because enough municipalities pull out, it goes back to the county. So the county would make the decisions, and what you heard from him is probably a more recycling-friendly, zero-waste-friendly, believe it or not, than half the county commission. When I talk to them individually, they don't know what's going on. They just hear from staff, and that's concerning. We really have to make this work, and I know the mayor is pushing as hard as he can to steer things in the right direction. And I know the executive board as well is, I think they're on board now, based on the mayor's persuasiveness, and also for those who go out to the authority meetings every other week. Hats off. I wish I had the time. But in any case, we have to really kind of keep an eye on him, because he's out there with a completely different direction than what we stand for at this point. We need to persuade the rest of the county commission of what we stand for, and persuade them that, I've never heard anybody else call them burners, but we want to make sure that they understand incinerators are not the way to go. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but keep up the good work, guys. That's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. That's really informative. Thank you. First of all, I'm going to begin. Thank you, Jeff, for your comments about anti-Semitism, educating us on it. A few years ago, I learned that I did have Jewish heritage in my ancestry, and thank you for your education on that issue. It's really important. Last night, Sunshine Ranches Homeowner Association, there was expression about Sunshine Ranches wanting some of these brown equestrian area signs. And I'd like to follow up and try to get some of those installed. Just reminding folks that this is an equestrian area. We need to slow down. It's really, really important. Not too long ago, I had a giant ficus in the back of my home. And I was told that the roots are growing under my foundation. So I said, well, ficus, invasive plant, cut it down. And I called town hall, found out I needed a permit for that. And I was like, why are we needing a permit for an invasive plant? And it was having to do with the size. That's what I was advised. But I got the list here of the invasive plants for Southwest Ranches. It's 15 trees that you can cut down without a permit. And then I found out Broward County has a bigger list. It's 4 pages long. I'd like to ask December and to work with the administration somehow we can, or one of the groups, to look at the possibility of revisiting this list and making sure that we include maybe more of these invasive plants, because I don't really think it's fair that our residents would have to pay for a permit to cut down something that's considered invasive. It's just doesn't make sense to me that, you know, it's an invasive plant, but you got to pay to cut it down. And the whole goal is to reduce the burden on our residents. So that's one project I'd like to get worked on. 4, yeah, I mentioned, I don't know, it was the last meeting, maybe the one before, I'm still kind of interested in pursuing a fundraiser for the Ed Board with a Texas Hold'em kind of thing over at the barn. I think that would be really, really, really cool. Hope we can make that happen. And then recently, I learned that a resident from out west, who was a very, very wonderful guy, he was a hero, he went to Notre Dame, flew in the Air Force, flew F-4s. Mike Hanley, he recently passed away and really, really leaves a vacancy in the town, because I loved him coming here when I met him and meet him every night. He was a regular, and he would always have his real special jokes. And those of us that know the jokes, know the jokes. So, just keep Mike Handley in your thoughts, folks. Thank you. That wraps it up for me.
Thank you, David. Yeah, we're going to miss Mike. He was a great guy. Yeah, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I want to sit here and I want to look each and every one of you in the eye, and I'm going to tell you something, all right? If you think for 1 minute that this council isn't working their tails off to communicate to our residents about the solid waste, the incinerator and stuff, you're dead wrong. I go to the Broward League of Cities. I speak to 33 mayors and council members twice a month about this. The word is getting out. We made a video here. Was it perfect? No. All right? Was it why at the end? Maybe that wasn't put in. But we're working at it. We are working our tails off to get the word out. I thank our mayor. I thank our residents. We have residents here that have given up 6 weeks of their time, twice a week, 4 hours at a time, to learn about recycling, reusing, and refurbishing. They just finished a class project. I heard that class project. I heard part of it. They are working their butts off to get the message out. When they have the meetings here at Town Hall, the residents need to come and participate. I don't know how else to get the word out to them. When they have these meetings, they have 10, maybe 15 people. There should be 100 people here. So you have the responsibility of telling your neighbor to get up, get off the couch, and come to the meetings here. We're fighting, and we're going to continue to fight, all right? As long as I'm your councilman 4 years from now, after re-election, I am going to do everything I can to stop any incinerator from coming to this town, to do everything I can to recycle, refurbish, compost, whatever it takes, all right? So don't think for 1 minute that this council isn't working their tails off to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, just a couple of items. One is, not sure really how to address this. I do try and monitor the speech. I'm not saying I do it perfectly. It's a difficult thing to do to know when it goes across. I apologize that speakers can be extremely offensive. I've tried to cut them off in the past, and that has been an issue, and tried to, just but I will try and improve and continue to try and do better. So I appreciate that feedback. I did want to bring up that I'm excited. We brought it up last time, but I'm very excited that now it's really getting going. Some of the programs that are going to be starting up for our kids that we've been wanting to do, frankly, for many years. And over the summer, we will be having for the youngest, from like 1.5 to 5 years, we're having a program over at Rolling Oaks Barn for kind of like Mommy and Me or Daddy and Me kind of a project where you can come out and really get to know your neighbors, especially if you have young kids. We have friends that we got to know when our kids were that young, and they're still friends today because that bond that you build at that time. So I'm excited about that and looking forward to that. And then in the fall, there'll be a separate program that is going to go on through 3 different sessions, one in the fall, one in the winter, one in the spring, that is football, soccer, that kind of thing, and that's ages from 5 to 15. So this is our inaugural effort in that way. I'm super excited that now as a town, we can offer that to our families and our kids. And so I think that's going to be a great program, and looking forward to seeing that build and to grow over the years. So please help get the word out on that, and if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. All right. Legal comments.
Just one, Mayor. This week, Russell and I met with BBX about their purchase of the former CCA property. They wanted to come to a town hall briefly to introduce us to their new project manager, who they just hired from Philadelphia, who will be responsible for the development. They assure us, once again, that everything is 100% to plan. They got some very good news from the county concerning drainage on the site, which may enable them to actually increase the size of the facility, which means more rental income for us. They also told us that they're going to do everything in their power to ensure a closing by September 30th, so that they potentially could come out of the budget, that property could come out of the budget for the following fiscal year. So everything was on track. They did their first round of site plan comments, and they are in the process of revising it, but we expect to see it here probably around June. For site plan approval.
It's great news, Keith. Appreciate your work on that. Administrative comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few comments for me. At the last meeting, we did present the renderings for the Southwest Meadows restroom building, and we did hear the feedback from the community as well as the feedback from the council. And we are working with the architect team as well as the staff team that's overseeing that project, and we will be bringing forward revised renderings, trying to be sensitive to the comments that were raised, and we hope to have those back to you at the next meeting on May 9th. We were successfully able to issue the PO for the new Davie Fire Rescue vehicle that we were committed to, so we issued that today. So that essentially freezes that cost, which we expect that vehicle to be delivered in 2026. I was going to speak about the PSA that we did, but I'm glad that we had the perfect opportunity to bring that up. And then the last thing I just wanted to say was that in addition to the recreational offerings that the mayor discussed, we also have ongoing open play chess tournaments here at Town Hall, happening every 3rd Saturday of the month. And the next one is on May 18th at 10 a.m., then it goes to 2 p.m. So we invite you all out to participate. For those of you who like chess or want to take it up, learn about it. Yes.
So I had heard that there was a conflict and that was not going to be that date. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. So the May 18th.
The May 18th, which is ours, correct.
Thank you.
Good.
So that's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Russell.
Can I just go back to Keith on a question?
Sure.
Keith, you were talking about BBX preparing site plan first and then obviously the construction plans. Having built both residential and commercial personally, you know, the standards are much different between residential. Is CAP going to do the plan reviews for everything intended to be built out there?
Yes, for the building permit side, Jeff Kadams is doing the review for the zoning side.
Sure.
And our engineering staff is taking care of the engineering drawings.
As far as CAP doing it, I mean, the majority of the work they do is, you know, light residential, light commercial. This is more of, you know, I just want to make sure they've got the right people reviewing.
CAP is huge organization that does probably half the cities in Broward County at
Sure,
this point.
but I guess we won't be doing it in our local office. They'll be farming it out to somewhere else within the organization.
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Another thing I should mention for longtime South Broward residents, BBX also bought Signature Grand. The exact same facility that they're building in Southwest Ranches is what Signature Grand will become. So they said the same buildings, the same layout, the same everything, because they loved the Southwest Ranches model so first. And they also assured Russell that the ranches will open before the Signature Grand location.
Thank you, Keith.
Great. Thanks, Bob. All right, item number 10, please.
Yes, sir. Item number 10 is an ordinance by the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, amending the Town of Southwest Ranches Code of Ordinance and Ordinance Number 2014-003 to specify the elevation of manufactured homes in flood hazard areas, providing for applicability and severability, and providing for an effective date. This was approved on first reading April 11, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is generally a housekeeping type item for our FEMA insurance rates. Is there any discussion from the council on this item? Seeing none, is there any public discussion on this item? Seeing none, public session is closed. If you can please call the roll.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kozinski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Item number 11, please.
Yes, sir. Item number 11 is an ordinance of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, amending the Town of Southwest Ranches Code of Ordinance to require the supermajority or unanimous vote of the Town Council before directing the town's code enforcement department to proactively enforce additional code violations, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the town's code of ordinances, and providing an effective date.
You know, Mr. Mayor, I was advised there was a potential legal issue with this. So I'm going to make a motion, and I would like some public comment regardless on this issue. I'm going to make a motion that we table this.
So what I would say is this: if you want to have public comment on it, then we should make a motion and a second so that we can discuss it. And then when the discussion is over, then I would make your motion to table.
Okay, the motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion on the item. Turn your mic on, please.
Mayor, if you would, before you open it to public comment, I would like to go along with David's motion before it's open to the public to table this. I would like for it to go to the Attorney General for an opinion as to the legality of it. I've read the emails that have come through to all of us, to the town, and I've asked a lot of questions, and I got a lot of different opinions, and I would really feel a lot more comfortable if there was an Attorney General's opinion, and I would agree with whatever opinion they had. So, you know, I'd also like to second that motion of David to table this, you know, if this is the proper time to do it. I know you say it's not, but...
So, no, I didn't say it's not proper time. The only reason why I said it was not proper was because David said he wanted discussion on it. And if he tables it, the discussion is over. So if you would like to, he didn't make a motion to table, he made a motion to approve, so we could have a discussion. If you would like to table it, you can do that. You can make a motion to table and see if there's a second for it.
Mayor, I would like to make that motion to table it.
I'll second that.
To get the,
okay.
You know, to get the opinion from the, and I, like I said, I think it's a very important issue to be looked at.
Good. I don't disagree at all. So we have a motion and a second to table.
Just some discussion?
No.
No,
No, discussion on the motion to table it.
That's not,
Okay.
yeah. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Arbin,
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman. No, it was Councilmember Albritton,
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman,
Yes again.
Councilmember Jablonski,
yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski,
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
So Keith, I think you have your direction.
What I'm going to do, Mayor, I'm happy to describe what the issue is if you would like.
Sure.
To the general public.
Thank you, Dave.
One of our residents aptly referred to a charter provision that speaks about quorum and voting. In that section, the charter says that all votes of the council shall require 3 affirmative votes. But it's in the same section that's dealing with quorum that says you need at least a minimum of 3 council members to constitute a quorum. There are 2 ways that provision can be read legally, and I've done actual research on it. One way is because it's in the quorum section of the charter, it could mean that if only 3 council members show up at a meeting, that provision was there to ensure that all 3 of them voted alike so that a item could not be passed in the town on a 2-1 vote. If you read it in the alternative way, which the resident was reading it, all items would require a 3 vote unless the charter said otherwise, so you would not be within your authority to modify the charter to make this 4-1 or 5-0. So that's what the legal question is. In order to ask the Attorney General, since it was approved by state statute, the charter, it is something that the Attorney General can, if they wish to chime in on. I would bring a resolution back to you, which is required under the law to seek the opinion, and I'll state exactly in that resolution what I just stated out loud.
Good.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk about in the tabling. I don't believe we've ever sent anything to the Attorney General that hasn't been an approved ordinance. Have we sent proposed ordinances to them before?
We have sent them before you, I've sent probably at least 3 since I've been here. The last one I recall was when you wanted to hire Davie PD and Fire. There were, BSO contended that they were the only ones that you could hire. So we went to the Attorney General with that contract and said, can we lawfully hire the town of Davie? And they responded in the affirmative. So we have done it before.
Proposed as opposed to adopted?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That was the question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is an item that I wanted to place on there. We've had a lot of conversation about it, and I want to give a little bit of an introduction to it. So this is an item that has to do with municipal water sources, and I believe that this is a matter of fairness. Now, before I get into it, I do want to make a kind of a statement disclaimer up front that the properties that we're talking about are really all owned by the Bergeron family, and so I want to be clear that this is a matter for me that comes from a perspective of what's fair and what's right. Certainly, I have respect for the Bergeron family, but they have never contributed to my campaign. I've never asked them to contribute to my campaign. They're not contributing to my campaign this around. This has nothing to do with an election or anything like that. And I just want that on the record. I want that up front because unless it's said, some may assume otherwise. So with that said, here's my perspective on it and why I wanted to bring this up. So currently today, perhaps everybody realizes this, perhaps not everybody realizes this, but today, as we sit here in this room, every piece of property in our town has the option to get their water either from a well, or if they want to pursue getting it from another municipal source, they're able to do that. Every property, even the property on US 27, is able to do that as we sit in this room today. Because that's what's right, it's what's fair, it's what everybody has the option to do. So that makes sense. However, when we created I'll go back another half step. So several years ago, probably about 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 years ago, the Comprehensive Planning Board had a project to go out and determine which properties, if any, were not appropriate for residential use. And they went around to the entire town, and there were several that came up. There was properties on Griffin Road. There were properties on Flamingo Road. There were properties on Sheridan. There were properties out on US 27. And they reviewed every one of those, and they made a decision on it. And I think they made a wise decision. And they looked at what was on Griffin Road, and they said, no, we think that could be residential. Even on Flamingo, no, I think that could be residential. Sheridan, no, we think that could be residential. US 27, no. With respect to Ron, who has his house on US 27, but he has quite a large front yard there. So, but really for the properties that are right there on US 27, the decision was made by the comp board that that was not really appropriate. It was not realistic to do. And so therefore, that was the only set of properties in town that a new zoning area was developed for, and it was called light industrial. And that's a pretty good description of it because nothing major can be built out there, but it is a commercial level, an industrial zoning. And so it is more along the lines of warehouses and things like that. There's a whole list of things. I'm not going to go into the whole list, but the board looked at it very closely over many different meetings. This was not a one and done. This went back over and over and over again. The Bergerons came out and they gave their feedback on it since it was basically properties they owned. And I don't think, I'll say, and Lonnie, you can agree or disagree with this, but I think at the end of the day, we came to a relatively good agreement. I don't think the Bergerons were 100% happy with where we ended up, but I think it was close enough. And so that was what was put together. However, when that was done, and this is the crux of the matter, when that was done, we were in the middle of a battle with Pembroke Pines. And so one of the elements that was put into that new zoning was that if this zoning was ever put in place, which it's not yet, but if it was ever put in place, this would be the only properties in our town that would no longer have the option to get their water wherever they want. They had to get their water either from a well or Sunrise. That was the only two options they had. These are the only properties that would have that. To me, that's not fair. It's not right. It was a matter of what we were going through at that time. It was a reaction to that, and it showed up in here, and now it becomes an issue. So I wanted to understand this from the perspective of Sunrise. I wanted to see, because frankly, if Sunrise was in a position where they were willing and ready and excited about coming out and providing water to that property, then maybe it's not an issue. Maybe we could promote that. Maybe we could work together and make that happen. And so I spoke with the mayor of Sunrise, had actually a couple conversations over a few days, and he ended up writing a letter back to us, which is included in your backup of tonight's meeting. It was really an email, and I asked him when I presented, I said, listen, I'm not looking for a political answer. I'm not looking for don't tell me what I want to hear, because you don't know what I want to hear, and just give me the facts. Let me know what it is, how Sunrise, what their perspective would be to potentially doing a project like this. Give me the good, give me the bad, give me the ugly. And so he wrote that email back, and basically that and other conversations, basically if they have their own concerns about water. There's this image that they have all the water in the world in Sunrise, but they don't. And they have a growing community as well, so they have concerns that way. They have concerns. There was talk about that, there would be something with getting a reduction in the 25%, and he says that's not going to happen. He says, he says only one person on their commission, but at the end of the day, he sees that not going anywhere. So we would pay the full freight. He said that, that there are issues with the actual installation itself, that they would have to put lines literally, physically, on top of the lines that are already in place in Pembroke Pines along Sheridan Street. He said, his feeling was that it would be unlikely that Pines would give permission to where that could potentially create damage or even if it wasn't damage, create real headaches if they had a break in their line and now they had a pipe laying on top of their line that they had to deal with to fix their line. So there was a lot of reasons why they were not excited about it. Did he say they couldn't do it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it was certainly not something that was at the top of their list or something that they felt compelled to do or even had a desire to get involved with. So in looking at that, at the whole gamut of what I have learned and how I've looked at it, I've had a lot of conversations with Jeff, had alternatives and this, that, and the other thing, and a lot of different things. I have come down to the conclusion that, number one, what we did was a reaction to what was going on at the time, and at the end of the day, it's not a fair situation. It's not the right way to approach it. Number two, there really is not a reasonable alternative to Pines providing this water. And so what I would like to propose and get a consensus from, and I'm going to open it up to the public, I want to hear from the public, but my objective in bringing this item up is that I would like to request that this text item be sent to the Comprehensive Planning Board. I'm not looking for us to make a decision tonight, one way or the other. I want this original wording came from the Comp Board, and so I think it's appropriate that it goes back to the Comp Board. I would like to see them take a look at it and make a recommendation back to us, but I would also like for you all to be thinking about it with an open mind on what really is the best and the right thing for both this property and the town as a whole. So with that said, I'll open up first to the council if there's any comments, and then I'll open it up to the public.
I'd like to hear what the public has to say.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, so let me do that. Let me open it up to the public. Lonnie, I know you're here. If let you go first, if you're comfortable with that, if you'd like to say a few words.
Mayor.
Yes.
Just to confirm, 2 minutes or 3?
Let's do 3 minutes.
No, I would say that, the benefit both to the property owner and the tax base is going to be created by this development. This is the only roadblock left to starting. I mean, we've already spent probably upwards of $2 million in development and planning, and without this component to where we can use the industrial use, because even with some research, it's not clear. Wells may not be an option when you get into the industrial category. And packaged plants are too expensive. So if we really want to do this, I mean, I believe the original intent for the town to seek out properties that would qualify for this was to diversify the tax base and bring a financial benefit to the residents. And that's what everybody is intending to do. But this is the last roadblock. If we can get this to where we can, I mean, the sewer is on our property line, the water line's less than a quarter of a mile away. We can be up and running as soon as we get through the loop and the zoning. So, and we believe we can develop this property pretty quickly. There's a pretty good demand for some of the things that you guys are willing to let us do out there. So, and I'm available for questions.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Lori Parrish. First of all, I don't think it should go to the Comp Board, but there are other members here. In my personal opinion, this is a philosophical issue that needs to be decided by the town council. But as a resident, I know that some of the residents in my area, because we're closer to Cooper City than we are to Sunrise, have hooked up to Cooper City water. And Cooper City used to say they didn't have capacity. When I spoke to Ryan Schroeder the other day, he said they do have capacity. So That means if Mr. Bergeron's property, it's common sense, he's closer to Pembroke Pines, he's got another property that's adjacent to this, it's in Pembroke Pines, that makes sense to him. Over on the east side, we're closer to Cooper City, that makes sense. But what my concern is all those residents that spent the money and hooked up in Sunrise and are getting a 25% surcharge, what's that do to them? If Sunrise doesn't have any growth, does that mean our residents who've done that, I have a well, but does it mean our residents who hooked up to Sunrise in the county, I know when it was, right before I got on the commission, it was believed that Vista View, when it was a county dump, polluted at least 7 wells in Sunshine Ranches. And so the county paid to connect those, and we paid to Sunrise. Because so what I'm just saying is, I'm not so sure this is a comp board decision, because it's common sense to let Mr. Bergeron hook up closest to his property. It's common sense to let the people out on my side of town hook up to Cooper City. But then if you use your common sense, do you screw over the poor residents that have Sunrise water? And that's a decision y'all need to make. Thank you.
I have to agree with Laurie. I think this is I don't think you need to send it to the comp. You made the decision back then, and I remember the wars with Pembroke Pines. But Bergeron's property has the hookup right next to it for Pembroke Pines. And Sunrise would want, if they did do it, would want a small fortune, make it almost prohibitive. As far as giving the rest of the town water, I think Sunrise is in here already in some areas. So I don't think that they would object to hooking up the people that want it, that are in the area that they're in. And we're talking about out west, way out west, right at the end. So I don't think you should delay this. I think you should decide as the council whether or not it's right or not. I think it would be right. I think it's fair. I don't think it was fair to begin with, but I understand the reason you did it. So I think you need to make it right at this point.
Hello, Jim Lasky. It's crazy to think that the war we had over the prison and the fact that they saved you guys a lot of money by not building the damn thing, that you would still be punishing Lonnie over here. Okay? Let him put his pipe in. For God's sakes, they were ducking all the bullets. Okay? They weren't involved in it. We were involved in it. It was dumb. If you had a prison now, you realize how broke you would be? And you already lost a bunch of money fighting it. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Debbie Green, 199th. I would just ask, well, while we have Mr. Bergeron here, maybe he can, if this is the last step in, for them to be able to develop this to be a benefit to the town, maybe he can share with us maybe what that development is that that they're looking at. Just to know what that development is, maybe that is it not something that also feeds into a facility that then would feed into an incinerator where it's not a burner, it's not an incinerator, but it's a facility that would feed into that if there was one built nearby. But just to share what the development plans are.
Good question.
Hi, good evening. Doug McKay, 4851 Southwest 130th Ave. I don't know what you guys are waiting for and what took so long, but I think you guys let him get his water where he wants. Thank you.
Yeah, please, Ronnie.
So there's the two ways that there was a possibility. We believe that based on our reading of the charter, the ordinances, and Florida statute, that a person that has an interest in something coming before the town has the rights, if the town wants to accept, for us to put together. I mean, even as early on as visiting 8 months ago with Jeff, he suggested, because he knew that this was going to be problematic and it needed to get to the council at some point, of that limitation in the text. But we believe in either scenario, whether it's a town-initiated text amendment, we believe in any scenario, to perfect the development order and the amount of money that everyone's putting into this, it should go before not to slow things down, but it does say in a lot of places in your charter that any text amendment that occurs needs to be reviewed by. So however it gets there and is initiated, whatever you guys agree on how to do it, we would like to present to the advisory board and let them issue a recommendation and then come to you guys for the first reading.
Great. Thank you, Lonnie. Can you speak to what your plans are for what you're going to build out?
I could speak to it, but it doesn't do any justice to the package that we're, I've already, you got to see the package and the renderings and all that. The uses are in the uses are in the code. And so there's 71 potential, is more variance. The one thing that is not allowed on that property.
Lonnie, can you please speak in the mic?
Yeah, the one thing that I can tell you is prohibited on that property is anything to do with solid waste and recycling. It's a prohibited use, so everyone, you don't have to worry about that property. So, but I stand on my comments earlier on that. But yeah, we've got color renderings, we've got Florida vernacular, landscaping, everything that it could look like, whether it's a street level warehouse, whether it's a distribution center, outdoor storage, we're ready to go.
Okay, let's, any other, yes, Newell. Please, no, Lonnie, Lori, please, no.
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. The idea of not going to the comprehensive plan is against the comprehensive plan, the way it's written.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to undo that,
no,
you can. But all you have to do is get a 5-0 vote, send it to the state, send it to the county, and then you can do it. That's how simple it is. So, also, there is a thing in the comprehensive plan for that development area that says there has to be a workshop where everything is put forward, and it has to be noticed. An attempt was made once to do it, but it was not done correctly, so it has to be done again. It was on the last agenda of the comprehensive plan, but Mr. Bergeron pulled it, so it didn't take place. Well, let's notice it for the next meeting and get it done. Whether or not it's going forth, I've had conversation with Ron Bergeron over this, and I'd like everyone to know that. And I haven't made a decision one way or the other, but I'm more than willing to look at it with an open mind and go forward from there. And I've heard what the council has said, and I've heard what the other residents have said. So I'll make my decision when it comes forward and take care of it at that point. But at the same time, we still have a problem with water and sewer for the CCA property. Now, if we're going to do one, I think it's quite possible for us to have direction on the other property. And number two, since Pines is now going to have the water all the way out to the west, have an agreement with Pines, so all of the residents that don't want water don't have to have it in writing. Handshake agreement, no. So those are things that need to be discussed, and I think they should be discussed in depth at the comp plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Newell.
Good evening. John Garotti, 162nd Avenue. I'll be brief. Water. Water in the future is going to be the next oil. I'm going to tell you something, guys. This discussion, and I think there's been small discussion with Keith and Gary regarding possibly expanding. It's very necessary in the future to at least offer that choice. Our wells are getting damaged. Saltwater intrusion is a thing. It's going to have to be addressed in the near future. If this gentleman's getting blocked from something that the town was arguing over, common sense has to kick in. So this discussion regarding water in the future is not just going to be for two properties. That expansion is going to probably be because of whatever is going on in these aquifers. You know, Bob mentioned that he had a dog that passed away, and I hate hearing that. It's terrible, but we've had many neighbors that their wells have contaminated, and they feed it to the dogs, and they get sick. So a lot of cancers come from that. And look, I'm on my second or third well, I'm not even sure, but deep water wells are just not as reliable as they used to be. They're good for landscaping, but they do create some harm. So this water conversation is going to be a big, big topic, because clean water is pretty much, you know, without that, you're done. So it is going to be the oil of the future. Though our water supply is in danger, but I don't want to go on and on. So hopefully this gentleman can get his red tape cut. And construction is expensive. It's every block that you put in any time, it's just, it doesn't stop. It'll change your projections on whatever you thought you were going to make, and then you don't make it anymore. But that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none. I appreciate the comments. We do, as far as the CCA, part of your backup is a letter from Pines regarding that, so that certainly has been broached as well. And as far as going to the comp board, this is a change to the comprehensive plan. It's actually text that is in the comprehensive plan, so that's why it's going back to the comprehensive plan. We don't change the comp plan without the comp board, their input. And so it is an extra step, but it's the right way to do it, and let's do it the right way. And so that's what I would be looking to do. Yeah, Bob.
If I recall, and it's been a while since I've read the comp plan, I was on the board for 10 years, but didn't we pass a requirement that says any water in town has to be from Sunrise?
No.
No? Okay. So it's just the property out west.
That's the only zoning that has it.
Because I know we've been led to believe over the years we had to use Sunrise for water. Sunrise was the only option. They had all the water. Well, when I read the mayor's letter, they're ambivalent at best.
At best.
And, you know, the 25% surcharge on top, they have billions in infrastructure that I don't have to explain to you. They got to pay that stuff off. So we're not residents there, so it makes sense.
We're not going to get a special favor.
We're not going to get a deal. So I brought this up several weeks ago. It makes sense to me to let them use the water in the pipes that they sank 25 years ago now? 30 years. Yeah, because it was around the time I built my house. So I'm all for, doing this the right way and doing the fair thing to the Bergerons.
Good. Any other comments from the council?
Just that I think it makes sense.
Good.
But we do have our procedures, and it is important that we stick to procedures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I support everything saying at the comp plan, and I think it's the right thing to do to help with the Bergerons.
Good. Yeah. Jim?
Mayor, I'd like to say that I shared the board with George when these was discussed, those 71 issues, and you're correct, hour after hour after hour, meeting after meeting, to come to this agreement. And, what's going to be proposed out there, this town's already agreed to. So I don't think there'll be any problem with the hookup of the water and stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, Gary.
Okay, I'm going to be the fly in the ointment
All right,
here
go
a little
ahead.
bit. So I'm not entirely sold on this. I think the incinerator needs to be settled. That needs to be settled first for me to move forward with any kind of an agreement like that. I'm talking about the whole
I mean, that could be 3 or
project.
5 years from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm giving you my thoughts.
Yeah, no. I'm just. Yeah,
You asked for them, I'm giving them.
I'm not arguing with you.
I may change my mind over time, but right now, that's a big sticky wicket
Okay,
right there.
I got you.
Okay.
Could I ask you a question? How do you see any tie-in between the property on, thank you. How do you see any tie-in between their property and the incinerator? What's your thinking there?
Auxiliary uses to the incinerator, construction and debris, sorting,
Demolition.
garbage, all that sort of stuff. there's a lot of money to be made to that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Trash transfer,
Right,
things of that happen. All you're talking about is a variance change.
right.
You know, it's in the, it's not in the uses, but that can be changed.
Sure.
Very easily.
Good.
With a different council and a different reason. So that's why I'm not entirely sold.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
Appreciate that, yeah. No, appreciate you bringing that up. And I think we'll know a lot more once we see the presentation as well. So that'll help. All right. So do I have a consensus to send this to the comp board?
100% with me.
Yeah.
I think we got the consensus. Very good. So we will do that. Yeah, Lori.
I just worry, you know, I think common sense comes into play, but I worry, was the contract with Sunrise based on any expected future growth? And does this mean that everybody that backs up to Sheridan Street Pembroke Pines could come right under the road to the back of their properties in the canal? Do they have that option too? And is Sunrise allowed to switch to Cooper City or Pembroke Pines? If residents have Sunrise water, can they switch to Cooper City or can they switch to Pembroke Pines? I mean, we can debate all that, but it might be nice to have some guidance. You don't have to do it now, but do you see what I mean? There's some policy decisions that you're going to have to give us. I mean, you're there when we're doing it, but we need all the answers to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. We're not asking for, in this, what we're asking for direction on this one text. That's all we're asking for at this time. There is a bigger picture. There is a bigger picture on where we're going to go as a town, which I believe Lori is referring to, which is a great point. There is a bigger picture that we are going to have to work through to figure out where we want to go, as been stated tonight. I think we all appreciate the wells that we're on. I know I do. It's actually been, I shouldn't even say it here, but it's been very consistent. It's been very, very good to me and my family for the last 30 years. So I guess I'll have to call the water guy tomorrow because it'll probably be a mess. But you know, but that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you know, as all the issues we've talked about, you know, we see that the future is headed our way. And so we do need to come up with a plan. Right now, as we've seen over the years, many, many times, residents that are near Cooper City come to us and they request for a hookup from Cooper City. Residents that are on the Sunrise side come to us and they hook up through Sunrise. Residents that are on the Pembroke Pines side. We had a council member that was on Pines Water for many years, Freddie Fisicelli. His family is on Pines Water. So it is, you know, it's something that we've done with, but as a town, this is something we need to look at and we need to come up with a plan. And I don't know that it's going to be one provider. I suspect that it's going to be multiple providers, and we're going to have to work out a plan that makes sense for all the different parts of the town. So we'll take that up. It's definitely on the agenda. This item here has been kicked around and it's been years. I appreciate the patience because it's been kicked around for a very long time. But I felt now that everything is done with Pines, it's time to move forward and get this taken care of. So with that said, we will send this to the comp board. Yeah, Keith?
Yeah, and Mayor, if you don't mind having a motion so it's formally documented.
Make a motion? Okay, that'd be great. I would make a motion, and I can't make a motion, but
I'll make a motion to advance this topic to the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Board.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. You can please call the roll.
Councilmember Alberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
And Mayor, just for the record, at the comp plan board, it only requires the majority vote. At the council requires unanimous vote. So I just want to make sure the comp plan board knows that when it comes before that.
Okay, good. Thanks for that clarification. All right. Item number 13, approval of minutes from our regular meeting on March 28th.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any additions, corrections to the minutes from the council?
Look good to me.
Seeing none, is there any additions, corrections from the public? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Alberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kozinski.
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion to adjourn.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it.